Hi, I'm Kara Pogreba. Welcome to Bright Hope Creations. Today I'm going to work on some no-line coloring using this Lawn Fawn unicorn from A Little Sparkle. Here he is stamped out in Memento Tuxedo Black, second generation in Memento Tuxedo Black, and then the third one is in Summer Sky. And that's what I'm using for this. So I'm going to stamp it off on scratch paper and then stamp it on my coloring paper. And then I'm going to stamp it off once more and stamp it on my paper again. This is a Georgia Pacific 110-pound paper. I can see the lines faintly. I don't know if you can or not, but you will as I get started. But I keep the image that I stamped off on the scratch paper to the side so that it gives me a bit of a guide of where those lines are. I take a light color to identify those lines that are going to eventually be where the darkest shadows are on the body. I'm using the no-line coloring technique today because I want to give this unicorn a blended rainbow mane and tail, and it's easier to do that when there aren't lines in the middle so that I can get the colors to blend well. There are many times that you would use no line coloring, and there's times to use the black lines. I use black line stamping all the time, but there are times where no line coloring works out better. The black lines give you a bold look and no lines give you a softer look. If I'm going to set my image into a scene that I draw, I like my lines, no lines, so that it looks like it's drawn in as part of the scene. Another advantage to no line coloring is adding texture, such as on an animal like fur and scales. The lines can go past the drawn lines that way. It's quite forgiving. All right, so here I am starting to put in the color. This is an R22, and I'm just drawing out where I want the red line. Now, I'm only going to use red, yellow, and blue today because they are Copics, so they are transparent and they blend together. The reason I'm just starting with a thin line is I'm identifying those where those lines are, but also I'm kind of giving myself a guide as to where I want to keep the primary colors. I know that if I went right from red to yellow, I would get orange, and I tend to get too much orange and lose my red and yellow because I get a little carried away with the blending. So that's why I'm coming in to give just kind of the stripes of where the red, yellow, and blue are going to be. And you can see the colors I'm using. With Copics, the last number that it's labeled with is from light to dark. And so this B00, that would be the 0. And even though I'm using it with a R22 and a Y13, so a 2 and a 3, it's still, I think it's fairly dark in comparison. It holds its own. So now I'm coming in and I'm thickening up those lines to where the purple is eventually going to be, finding the end of the image there. And you can see I turn the paper around to get a good clean line. Just thicken those up. And here's the Y13. And now I'm going to thicken those lines up to where I will eventually have that orange. And also starting to create the green. And then with the R22 coming in to begin the orange. Now this looks a lot darker, but it's a matter of layering. So I will come in with the red, then I'll come back in with the yellow. Same with the yellow and the blue. Come in with one and then the other, and eventually get the amount that you're looking for. So you see where I went over with the yellow onto the blue, but now the blue on the yellow, and it really brightens up that green. There's not a real wide area here, so I'm trying to be very careful to keep all 6 of the rainbow colors. All right, here's where the R22 is now on the blue, which is creating that purple color. I just find that amazing. I don't know. It's fun to watch them blend together. So I'm also darkening up my R22 up above, the red, darkening that in there, and then coming in for a thin line to create the purple. And like I said, I am keeping these lines thin. It's just not a very wide area, and I want to make sure that I retain all the different colors. All right, this is where I start putting in the horn, and I'm coming in with the darkest color first because it's a small area, and I'm just going to define where it's going to be. I'm not worried about starting light because it's not something that I'm not sure of. So came in with the dark, coloring it in with the lightest, and then I'll blend it in with the medium from the 17 to the 13 with the 15. And then using the R22, again, just touching up there on the main, and then I'll use it also on this horn, but it won't stay red like this. It's gonna be blended with the Y17, and that's gonna give it a nice golden color. And then just filling out to the ends there. So back to the body, and that's kind of what I do on this. I go from the body to the hair, back to the body, back to the hair. It's just a process. Now that I have the mane and tail out there, pretty much now I know kind of the darkness that I'm looking for on the body. So that's why I'm coming in with a C1, because I already have mapped out where these lines are, so I don't feel like I need to go in with the lightest color. So I'm just darkening up those areas, and this is really when the body starts to take shape. When I first learned about no-line coloring, it was a couple of years ago. My Copic hero for no-line coloring is Jane Allen. If you've ever gone to see her blog, it's Jane's Box of Colors. I'll put a link in the description below so you can see her blog, but she does an amazing job with Copics, and I just had to figure out how she did that technique. So, I just thought it was so remarkable. So she actually taught some classes at My Favorite Things in Eustis, Florida. She's from England, but she came over to teach, and I had to see her. So I had the privilege of taking 2 of her classes there. She's amazing, and she's a great teacher too. So this is the colorless blender, and I'm just coming in to soften up any of the areas that are in the main part of the body, And then this is my darkest shadow that I come in with, and that's a C2. Just defining a little bit more and using it only in the areas that I want my darkest shadows. Kind of using it, you can see that just the very tip of it, so it's kind of like a pencil drawing in that the darkest lines. And it's really starting to take shape now. So I'm going to make those hooves a golden color like the horn. I'm finding where they are, and I'm looking over to the images on the left to get a guide here, because those are some tiny little hooves there. I want to make sure I have them in the right place and they're shaped correctly. I'm going to define them a little bit more, give them a shadow. And I'm going to do the same thing with the R22, put that on the end, and that's going to blend in to give it that golden color as well, like on the horn. And then I will take my lightest color and I'm flipping it over so that I can get a good straight line to give the definition of the hooves on the right side. All right, so now I'm going to come in and give shadow to the rainbow. And that's not as easy for me because I want to be real careful to just blend in short line or in thin lines. So this is my B12, so it's going to darken up the areas behind the ear, at the end of the tail, and just the places I think it should be darkest. And then with the Y17, getting in the shadow for the green and the yellow and the orange. And you can see that tail isn't really connected to the body, so that'll get fixed too with this part, because that's where the darkest area would be. So this is the R35 for my darker shade of red and orange. And unlike the blue and the yellow, where I feel I need 3 colors, I only use 2 colors for the reds. So there, I fixed that tail. It links up with the body now. And coming in to give it a little darkness at the bottom of the mane, where it would have a bit of a shadow. And then I'm still working with that blue, just trying to blend it out. I keep fussing with that one. And that's all right. I enjoy the process. It's just seeing what you like and taking a step back, taking a look at it, and then coming back in and just fussing a little bit more. So I'm just blending that out a little bit more there. And really in the end, I'm happy with it because I think that it gives it the amount of shadow that I'm looking for, especially behind the ear where it would have a dark shadow. So it worked out all right. I'm blending that in to the middle there. This video is sped up, so it's twice the speed of my coloring. And I think it's about the speed I should be coloring, but I color half the speed. So, but I wanted to keep it all in so that you could see the process that I go through for no line coloring. It really does kind of have a look to it that in the end I like the final product. All right, and this is the lightest of the Ys, but I'm coming in with it because I want to make sure that the yellow retains that bright yellow color and not too orange, and like the Y17 would make it a bit too orange. And then fixing that yellow part of the tail up by the body, and getting in the rest of the shadows for the yellow. So you can see where you're using thin lines of each of these colors because there is you just want to keep each of those 6 rainbow colors in there. All right, and back to the body again, and here I'm just going to give it a little more definition. Now that I have the mane and tail shaded, I kind of know what I'm looking for as far as shadows on the body again. And blending that out. And I didn't make this into a card on this video because I wanted just to spend the time with the technique, and I think that would be a bit too long to try to then set it onto a card, because this would either be part of a scene where I would mask the image and then maybe ink blend behind it, or draw a scene behind it and color it. Or I could cut it out and put it on something. There's different things I can do with this, but I might have that up on my blog. Make it into a card. And this is just the final touch of blending in the body, and when I'm right by the mane, I don't want to blend that out because I would get the red into the body, so I touch the tip of the marker to the paper where it's right there. So right here you can see I'm just dotting the marker onto the paper. That way the red doesn't blend into the body. So then I'm going to use a Zig Writer in platinum color, and with the fine tip I'm going to add the details of the mouth and the eye, and we're done. I hope this encourages you with your no-line coloring. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful day.